Okay, well, let's get started here. If you don't mind letting Metro Cable that we're gonna begin here, and we'll call this meeting to order of the Sacramento Metro Air Quality Management District on April 23rd, 2020 at 9:03 a.m. via Zoom. If the clerk could please call the roll and establish a quorum.
Okay, we're about to begin the meeting. Carr.
Here.
Daniels.
Here.
Frost.
Here.
Gaylord.
Here.
Guerra.
Here.
Hanson.
Here. Was that Lamson or Hanson?
Hanson. Harris.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Lamson.
Here again.
Lee.
Here.
Natoli. Peters. Cerna. Terry. We have a quorum. I have two more people entering the call. It looks like Director Terry and one other person.
Who are the two that just came on?
Callers, can you please identify yourself? Director Terry, is that you?
Supervisor Natoli.
Perfect. All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and just for the sake of we've got a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. And just for tradition, I've got my own American flag image here, so we'll stand up and we'll join you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and go on to the next item, if Madam Clerk.
The first item is the board clerk announcement. In compliance with directives of the State and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the physical location of this meeting is closed to the public, consistent with state guidelines on social distancing and California Executive Order N2920. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in the meeting by observing the meeting in real time at www.sacmetrocable.tv and by submitting written comments electronically by email at boardclerk@airquality.org. Comments submitted in person will be delivered to the Board of Directors by staff. Public comments regarding matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors will be acknowledged by the chairperson at the beginning of the meeting. Public comments will be accepted into the adjournment of the meeting, distributed to the Board of Directors, and included in the record. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District is cablecast live without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse cable system. This meeting is closed captioned and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated on Saturday, April 25th and Monday, April 27th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Could you please commence with the next item?
The next item is the Air Pollution Controls Officer Report, and I have Alberto Ayala here to give a presentation.
Morning, Dr. Ayala.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. I hope you're doing well. Let me do a mic check first. Am I coming through okay? Can you hear me okay? Very good. What I want to do is give you an update on a couple of programmatic items. Those are going to come last. But before we go there, I figure we'll share with you briefly how we are responding and coping with the crisis. We haven't had a chance to chat with you as a board in terms of how we are adjusting. So let me cover that in the first couple of the slides. So if you can advance the slide, Madam Clerk. So the first thing I want to share with you is how we are adjusting our operations with the businesses that are subject to our rules. If you can imagine, in our district, we have probably more than 2,500 different businesses that hold permits, emission permits with us. Those are 25 different businesses, and they carry themselves multiple permits. So total is probably more than 4,000. So the sources that are subject to our rules are very diverse. So what we are attempting to do is to position ourselves the best we can to do whatever little we can to help our businesses. And on a case-by-case basis, obviously, we are extending deadlines. The Clean Air Act has very strict requirements for routine emission testing. Clearly, at the moment, we are at a point where some of that is not taking place for a number of reasons. I mean, companies are just not doing it. So businesses cannot have the testing that is required. So we are extending some of those deadlines. Clearly, the economic recession is having an impact. If businesses cannot come up with the fees that are due because of the permits, we are waiving late fees. We're offering payment plans. We're also consistent with state and federal guidance, extending enforcement discretion. And as an air agency, we try to do the most we can to help the businesses that are being impacted. And like I said, there's no one size fits all, because all the sources are different. They're facing very different situations. So we're trying to just stay constant in terms of the emission control requirements that they have to comply with. We're not anticipating at the moment any additional requirements. And most importantly, because a lot of what we do is predicated on strong enforcement of the rules, we are also adjusting our inspections, both in terms of responding to complaints, which are still very much coming in. I mean, you've seen in the news, people are doing things that if we were not at home, they wouldn't be doing. So the complaint line is definitely busy. We're also switching to remote inspections when we have to go and inspect a source for compliance, and also our incentive projects, the funding that we put out in the region. Every project has to have an on-the-ground, staff eyes on the project to make sure that it's complying with all the guidelines. Internally, very much like all of you have done in your respective jurisdictions, we are following closely and implementing all the county health orders. We've ensured continuity of operation, so we are open for business, just not physically. Most of us, I would say 90% or so, are teleworking. There's only a handful of us that come in on a regular basis, because we do have some essential functions that are not suitable for teleworking. Our ambient air monitoring stations are still running, so our technicians are still having a need to go out and tend to those instruments. We have implemented the Families First Leave Allowance Act. We're working through that process, but again, we're trying to do the best we can and assist our employees as best we can. Next slide, please. Now, clearly, one of the key subjects, and we're going to get into this a little later, it's the last item on the discussion calendar, the budget. Normally, in our annual budget process, as you know, we bring you a draft in April. Assuming board approval, we bring back a final budget for adoption in May, and that budget carries us over the following fiscal year. But clearly, we're all anticipating that the recession is going to have an impact. But we don't know what that impact is yet. And this is an action that is very much aligned with some of our other sister agencies like SACOG, for example, who just advanced what I'm going to call a pre-crisis budget. And that is, rather than making adjustments too significant at the moment that are not going to be well informed, because a lot of the questions we don't have answers for yet. What we want to do is advance a pre-crisis budget, but begin to start making adjustments and start thinking really hard about, how are we going to position ourselves to ride a storm. So that's what you're going to see today. It's essentially a pre-crisis budget, one that hasn't been adjusted. But we're doing already everything we can to make sure that we preserve our reserves and cash. We are very much in close consultation with other air districts. As you can imagine, everybody's going through the same thing. We are in contact with our jurisdictions. We've been talking to some of our counterparts at the cities, et cetera. As I mentioned, we've been in contact with sister agencies like SACOG, for example. So we are going to be following and talking to folks so that we can best assess and integrate into our budget for next fiscal year whatever adjustments are going to be necessary to be able to respond to the recession. However, we're not sitting back. And one of the things that you're going to see discussed as part of the budget presentation is a couple of scenarios that we're already contemplating. We call it a moderate and a severe recession scenario, and that is different ideas in terms of how deep the economic impact is going to hit us as an agency, and how do we respond accordingly. I mean, that's something that is going to be first and foremost in our minds. Is we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we ensure the integrity not only of our team as a staff, but also the agency and the mission that we want to continue to carry. Luckily, and again, this is really a function of the fact that we were already belt tightening significantly because of the budget challenges that we've had. You all know that very well, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But because we have been in this process of understanding the issues with our expenditures and revenues, we were already implementing a lot of cost savings measures. So those are going to carry us at a much better position into the next fiscal year as we try to anticipate the recession. Clearly, the biggest expense for an agency like ours is staffing. And we have managed, as we have been discussing with you, to continue to operate and not jeopardize any of our critical programs at a much lower level of staffing. And just to put things in context, the board has approved us for approximately 99 FTEs. Right now, we're probably operating at about 88 FTEs. And in the pre-crisis budget, we were actually going to propose to you that we bring it back to about 94 FTEs. So clearly, the tough decisions that we've taken over the last couple of years are going to pay dividends in terms of how well we can weather the storm. But obviously, as we go forward, we're going to get more information. Some of the answers that we have are going to be a little more clear. So what we want to do is commit to bring you back as much information as we can as the information is released. Clearly, when we come back with what I will hope will be a final budget for approval by you, we'll give an update. We are also committing to, in the last board meeting of our year, in October, we can bring you the latest in terms of the information. And we are preparing ourselves to bring you an amendment of our budget that you are going to be seeing in a moment, first of the year next year when we first meet in 2021. That's not to say that we cannot have a discussion at a different point, but this is really to say to you that we are prepared to take action and really to underscore that for us, our budget is a fairly complex and timely process. So there's a lot of work that goes behind what you're going to see today. So with that in mind, we think that this is a reasonable update.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ayala. I think you've got some more slides to go through here.
Yeah, let me stop here in case there's any questions, and then I'll run through the incentives projects real quick.
Dr. Ayala, maybe if I could request that since it is a budget discussion, we take those questions during our budget item, and we'll get through your presentation.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, one more. So one thing that you've seen already, and I won't go into too much detail, the emergency declaration. What we want to do, like similar, like other air districts, is we really don't know in the environmental area how the stimulus is going to funnel down. We have been requested by EPA, federal EPA, to suggest shovel-ready projects that can be put into place with stimulus funding. And the idea that EPA has, which we fully endorse, is let's get some economic stimulus out there, but do it in a way that will give us emission reduction. So we've been talking to our friends at EPA and other districts. You've seen the letter that we submitted along with 4 other districts to our congressional delegation. So I'll stop there for now. Next slide, please. So back to the business of the Air District. Again, one of the things that we want to share with you is the programs are still running because we're essentially implementing funding commitments that the state made last year. And one of the most exciting projects that Mr. Lemos, who runs our transportation group, has come up with is essentially what we affectionately call one electric school bus for every school district in our jurisdiction. And that is really the goal, is we want every district in our air district, every school district, to adopt at least one electric school bus. Obviously, we have some districts that are more willing to take more than just one, but our goal is really to get the technology out there. Why? Because obviously this is zero emissions, and right now the crisis is showing us what clean air is like, and it should be every day of the year, crisis or no crisis. Luckily, we've been able to tap into about 17 million of state funding for these projects. So they're going to go essentially every school district that wants to participate with us. So stay tuned, because I'm hoping that you're tracking your school districts and asking. And again, this should just be the beginning. You know, when I talk to school districts, is, you know, we're happy that we can bring you a handful of them, but the goal should be 100% electrification. Next slide, please. And the last project that I'll share with you is all the hard work and funding so we can do some of these infrastructure investments. I want to define infrastructure for you. We're talking about charging infrastructure for battery electric vehicles and fueling infrastructure for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. We've allocated about $10 million. About $1.5 million is going to the city of Sacramento. So they've been obviously very progressive in terms of deployment of chargers, and we're going to help fill some of the gaps in the network in the city. But we're also going to be funding a hydrogen fueling station in South Sacramento, because that is our AB 617 Community Air Protection Program. And this is really just to begin to roll out and make it real for people that these technologies are here and they're coming. And then the second one, the hydrogen fueling station, is going to Folsom, because again, we think that is one of the key markets where we can see significant fuel cell vehicle uptake. So the rest are going. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, many of you participated in events yesterday. I know we were all busy doing different things online. Earth Day was yesterday, 50 years. And interestingly, the day before, the American Lung Association released their annual State of the Air report. I won't go into the detail, is widely available, but the one thing that I do want to emphasize for you is again, they highlighted our region, the Sacramento-Roseville region, as one of the ones that is most challenged in terms of meeting the ambient air quality standards. In terms of ozone, We retain our rank of 5th worst ozone level in the nation. In terms of particle pollution, we actually dropped in the ranking, but that's only because other cities got worse than us. So it's not really an improvement. But again, it's work in progress. And I think this is a perfect segue to my last point. There's a lot out there in the media right now making of the fact that because we've shelter in place, air quality is so good. And clearly there is an impact. There is a noticeable quantifiable impact of us doing this as opposed to out there getting around in mostly fossil fuel vehicles. But we can also we should also not forget the fact we've made a lot of progress over the last few decades. I mean, many other air districts, the state, we've been at this for a long time. So the way I like to think about this is, we're on a slope down towards attainment, and we have a plan in place, as you know. The crisis has just made that slope a little steeper, so we're moving faster to clean air. But what we need to make sure that we don't get into is the U-turn, where as we open up and get back to business, we do it in a way where we'll get a pollution hit. So I'll stop there. Thank you, and we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayala. And that is that concludes the Air Pollution Control Officer's report. For those who are used to Zoom, if you would like to use the raise your hand button for questions, please do so. And if not, then since I don't see any hands raised at the moment, I'll ask the clerk to go to the next item.
Before we go to the next item, Chair Guerra, I did have 2 callers call in. Those board members, can you please identify yourself for a roll call? I believe it was Director Terry and maybe somebody else.
Yeah, Donald Terry's on.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar.
Chair,
I'll move
We have a
consent.
hand raised here from Director Harris. Director Harris.
thank you, Chair. Dr. Ayala, during this crisis, I've come across a couple of articles relating PM 2.5 to susceptibility to the COVID virus. And, that's a particular concern to me. As you know, I'm working on an ordinance about leaf blowers and my concern about their participation in stirring up PM 2.5. I just wanted to make that comment that there is a direct correlation. Health is definitely adversely affected by PM 2.5. Crisis, we can be bold enough to tackle this problem and make sure that we keep our AQI low. Today it's forecast for 31, I think. It's really nice. It's really nice to be able to breathe in Sacramento, and it is very poignant. It points out how truly difficult our air quality is. I certainly feel it in my own body in terms of, breathing. A lot of people have made comments to me about the air quality. I think this is a real inflection point where we need to pay particular attention about how we reopen. We could go back to the same old, and we will be out of attainment in no time. But this is an opportunity, and I think it's something that I hope a lot of people keep in the back of their mind. Maybe we can do life differently coming out of this crisis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Harris. Moving on to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments from the public that were submitted on items on the consent calendar?
No, we do not.
Great, thank you. If not, then I'll entertain a motion to move the consent calendar.
So moved. This is Director Terry. I'll move the calendar.
I'll get the motion by Donald Terry. Second that motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Has been properly moved and seconded. And on this, seeing no hand raised, I will go ahead and ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this item.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Director Carr,
Yes.
Director Daniels,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Director Guerra,
Aye.
Director Hansen? Absent. Director Harris?
Aye.
Director Kennedy?
Aye.
Director Lamson? Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Natoli?
Aye.
Director Peters? Absent. Director Cerna? Absent. Director Terry? Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Oh, yes.
Your clerk doesn't have me as attending.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I've been-
Director Peters, I apologize.
Thank you, Director
I got
Peters.
booted off the phone twice. Thank you.
And Eric, really quick, I lost connection at some point, so I was an aye on that, but I don't think anybody called me, or I didn't hear my name being called.
Very good. Madam Clerk, did you record Director Peters and Director Terry's aye vote on this item?
I do have that.
Good.
Yeah.
This is Roger. I wasn't actually called on that as well, but I'm aye on it too.
Got it.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is that, I see that's a prevailing vote?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the next item.
The next item on the agenda is item thresholds of significance, and I have Paul Philly on the line to give a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Board Clerk. My name is Paul Philly with the Transportation and Climate Change Division. I know there's going to be another item on the budget, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. If you wish me to slow down, Chair Guetta, please let me know and I will do so. I brought this item as an information item to you in February, and now I'm asking the board to consider adopting the thresholds. Next slide, please. The reason that we are moving this forward is because even though we are shut down, there are still about 40% of the economy that's declared essential. Construction and planning is considered part of that. And right now we have 47 active construction projects reporting mitigation measures to us, which is as busy as we've been since the 2008 recession. In addition, all of you are very familiar with the planning deadlines and mandates that have come down from the state. You're working on accessory dwelling units, you're working on SB 743, and thresholds and other issues. And so we felt it was very important to make sure that this part of the economy, which is still moving, can have the support and defensibility that it needs to move forward through this crisis. Next slide, please. So when the California Air Resources Board came out with their climate change scoping plan, it said on the tin that this is the strategy for achieving California's greenhouse gas targets, and we're taking them at their word. And so the thresholds consistent with California Supreme Court rulings are about being very consistent with this plan at the local level, using substantial evidence and tailoring it to our specific region. Next slide, please. What we're proposing project can do and be consistent with a less than significant determination for greenhouse gases. We're essentially that all new projects would have to do best management practice 1, which is no natural gas, or if you choose to include natural gas, you would mitigate the emissions from it and pre-wire the structure so that it could be converted to all electric. Practice is to have additional EV infrastructure. And the reason for that is those of you who sit on SACOG know that our Metropolitan Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategy, which is our SB 375 target, is predicated on the Sacramento region having more zero-emission vehicles than the state as a whole. In order to support that fleet, we need to have more EV infrastructure than the state as a whole. Infrastructure beyond Title 24 requirements. Next slide, please. Finally, for larger or inefficient projects, and that has a very technical OPR SB 743 definition, we're asking for additional VMT reductions. So to give you a sense of what 1,100 metric tons is, I have a few sample land uses. A 12,000 square foot supermarket is about the size of a Trader Joe's. And so any wouldn't have to think about the VMT. or a small hotel or a small subdivision. Those could just go through with BMPs 1 and 2. For those larger than that, you would have to do a 15% reduction of per capita VMT or per worker VMT based on whether it's residential or commercial. And then also a no net increase in VMT if you're retail. VMT, of course, is vehicle miles traveled. This is only until your local jurisdiction comes up with a mandate from the state in middle of summer, June 30th, to have one. Most jurisdictions have processes well underway or have already adopted them, such as Elk Grove. And this threshold would defer to your locally adopted 743 process. So this is just a interim gap until you come up with your own thing. The best management practices, we wanted to not throw them into an EIR. And so equivalent reductions on site, or they could purchase off-site greenhouse gas mitigation. And of course, the credits would have to be verifiable, enforceable, and additional. And this is what's currently done today for projects that want to be less than significant. Next slide, please. Finally, even though there is a hard 2030 target, there is 2045 goals. And so the project would have to qualitatively discuss how the project would not get in the way of that attainment. So it could include a discussion of how it's not going to conflict with SMUD's 2040 goal or a net zero goal, additional capacity for a future when we have 100% zero emission vehicles and the like. Next slide, please. So what I would ask you to do is to hold greenhouse gas thresholds. I'm open for any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate your report. For members of the board, this was an item that I believe it was the first meeting at until we could actually assess our current situation. If there are no questions from, I see Director Carr. Go ahead, Director Carr.
Yes, on the first item, have we been in contact with SMUD about that, the first BMT?
Yes, we have. This particular item, and they're supportive of the best management practice 1.
Okay. Are we envisioning of gas?
State's plan. I believe it's 2045. They're thinking about having fossil fuel natural gas being eliminated. But currently the inventory of emissions coming from natural gas in Sacramento County is above our 2030 inventory. So there's no additional inventory that we could use for new construction.
Director Daniels.
Thank you. I don't see anything to push to put my hand up other than my hand, so I apologize for that.
Not a problem.
I just, it's pretty clear, but I just want to be clear. It seems the goal here is obviously to not have gas available for homes. So you couldn't cook with gas, you couldn't heat your home with gas, everything electric. And I think it's pretty standard that electricity. I'm very concerned about that. I know my electricity bill here in my home is very heavy, during the summer, obviously with air conditioning and whatnot. And I'm just very concerned about that aspect. And I don't know that it's necessary to eliminate that for people in their homes. I just, we keep wanting to clean the air, and that's a fine thing. And we keep doing that. And we keep taking measures. And it just seems like maybe we go and we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And in the process, far when it says, you can't cook on your stove and use gas. And so I can't support this, but I know the board will support it most likely. But I just think we're pushing too far. That's all.
Paul, could you add a little clarification to that? And I also see Director Carr's hand raised. So if you could add the clarification, then I'll go to Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair Guerra. Director Daniels, we did do an economic study where we looked at the costs of space heating and water heating with electricity versus gas. And because we have the SMUD comparable utilities such as PG&E, and from a construction standpoint, it's actually cheaper for the consumer and the builder because you don't have to put in the natural gas pipelines and you don't have to pay for additional safety things, which caused natural gas prices to raise after San Bruno. With respect to cooking, water heating, space heating, it's definitely cheaper. For water heating, it's a little bit more comparable. And that's the majority of natural gas use in buildings. I can make sure to get you a copy of.
Thank you, Director Daniels. Valid concerns, and I appreciate that information. Paul, if you could send that to the entire board, that would be helpful. I'll bring this. I have Director Carr, Director Harris, and Director Gaylord who've signed up. Director Carr.
I'm sorry, I froze up while we were doing when I was speaking the last time. You know, we went through this before at SMUD with all electric, and we eventually had to. The pure economics are you burn gas to produce electricity, and the electricity then is fed to the home. Well, if you can feed the gas in directly, you eliminate that step. It has to be more expensive to supply a home with all electric than it does with electricity and gas. To the extent that you can offset the renewables by using hydro, wind, and solar panels, you help that process along some. But you always must have some fossil fuel burning in order to push the electricity from the renewable resources. So I don't envision a day when we're ever going to have no gas. But I do think, in line with Director Daniels' comment, we need to close look board into this. The second issue is going to zero emissions, net zero homes. It's almost like the cleaning up the river. The last that is very difficult and very expensive, and maybe huge impact with very little investment in money and other resources, and get that last 5% by going to net zero home. So I'm a little concerned about the Vmt here, and I'll wait and see what the other directors say, but right leading to.
Thank you, Director Carr. I think you cut out there, but I get your point here. Director Harris.
Director, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Director Harris, you're muted.
There we go. Thank you, Paul. Some of you may know that I've been a builder my entire life. You know, I've been in the construction business until I got elected, about 35 years, producing housing products. And going all electric concerns me as well. One of the reasons that I have about this is practical. For instance, the most efficient water heat is on-demand water heaters. But to do an electric resistance on-demand heater not only requires more breaker space than more panels actually have, but it is definitely much more costly to do on-demand water heat with electricity than gas. I have a question for you, Paul, which is in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, is the problem with natural gas leakage in pipes, or is it actually the combustion byproduct? We know that a lot of gas pipes, you know, have a percentage of leakage, which is pretty substantial, and putting methane, it's a very damaging greenhouse gas. So can you address that issue?
I can. It's actually both, Director Harris. There itself, but also from the production and refining and transport of the natural gas. The state of California has determined, if I'm to sort of read the report as the way they want to do it, was we hit our 2020 greenhouse gas targets by cleaning up the electricity grid. I think the plan to get to 2030 is to start weaning ourselves off of natural gas. And then the 2040 target is going to be more focused on mass adoption of mobile sources to zero emission, which we're starting to do now, of course. With respect, defer to Executive Director Ayala, since he's more involved with the integrated management plan or integrated resource plan that SMUD has put together, and I think he could speak to that piece a little bit better than I can.
Dr. Ayala, before you go on, if I could just ask everyone to put their mute on, either on their headset or on their computer until you're talking. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Paul, and thank you, Director Carr, for the question. So a comment from a SMUD in support of what we're trying to do, and what I want to remind you is we're sort of taking this action in the wake of other agencies already taking action that is taking us in this direction. So we're not necessarily getting in front of anybody. The SMUD, as you've heard from they adopted the most aggressive integrated resource plan of any utility, public or private. And they basically are holding a net zero target by 2040, much earlier than any state or any other jurisdiction. And the way they want to do that is, as you pointed out, Director Carr, is massive deployment of renewables, action of fossil fuels, as you pointed out, actively looking at what to do about that remaining fossil fuel fraction. So electrification of new development is one of the key strategies that they've identified. And the one thing that I want to point out for Director Daniels is as economies of the scale are going to kick in, meaning as more electrified solutions make it into the built environment, the prices will come down. The second thing is the SMUD is a key partner in what we're trying to do. That is one of the reasons they sit on the Mayor's Climate Commission. They have incentives, and that is a huge enabling factor, at least early on, where folks who are ready to adopt the technology and begin to create the economies of the scale can take advantage of the rebates from somebody like the SMUD. So this is entirely consistent with what SMUD, what the Mayor's Commission are trying to do. All we're trying to do is essentially put into operation some of the commitments that others have made. The 50% VMT requirement, it's already in some of the SACOP processes. So this is really just giving an option to places, jurisdictions where they don't have an approved qualified climate action plan. You may recall Paul discussed that last time.
And to build on that, if a builder decides that an all-electric option or solution is not for them or their clients, they can go in with natural gas and they can still be less than significant, provided they find other ways to reduce emissions. We simply determined that this would be the most consistent and cheapest and sure way for a project to go forward. And there is a little more analysis to do if you wish to piecemeal other solutions together, but it is available.
Thank you, Paul. I'll go to Director Harris. Did that answer your question? If not, I'm going to go to Director Gaylord.
Go ahead and move along.
Thank you very much. Director Gaylord.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I appreciate all that information. I just wanted to echo Director Daniels and Director Carr's sentiments on, and actually Director Harris' sentiments on it as well. I mean, they summed it up pretty well. So, not that they stole my thunder, but they their concerns are exactly how I feel on this as well.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate the conversation. Here you're asking for the board to take a position on it. Oh, yeah, I have Director Frost. And Director Carr and Director Gaylord, if you could lower your hand, and I'll go to Director Frost here. Vice Chair.
Chair Guerra, I'd like to speak when I'm not on Zoom, so this is Director Natoli too, after Director Frost. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Director Natoli. We'll go right after Director Frost. Thank you.
Yes, this is an interesting conversation. I guess there's, on one side, we have state mandates and direction from the state that's handed down, and we have all these goals that we need to achieve over time. My concern around the idea of all electric is it goes to property values and Plan B. It goes to planning something based on not knowing if we have the infrastructure for it. And I guess what I mean by that is but do we have the electric grid to handle all electric? When you think about housing and cars and everything going on electric, and then setting up a whole infrastructure that only is serviced by electric, and the idea of needing natural gas, even to and water to produce electricity. I just wonder how we can, how that plays out. I don't know if someone like Director Carr or Director Harris would know more about this than myself, but it seems like then what happens when the electric grid can't manage what we are setting up for the next 2 or 3 decades, and we get there, and now all of a sudden we have all this infrastructure that has to be changed out, or that, now we have a whole different problem. I don't know. These are very ambitious goals that we keep making these plans, and I think many of us question whether or not we can achieve the end goal that we're trying to get to. And so I also have concerns. It's kind of like the old adage, putting all your eggs in one basket isn't always the best thing to do. It's just
Thank you, Director Frost. Did that conclude your comments? Yeah. Director Natoli.
Thank you, Chair Guerra. Question around this is that it's one thing on the new construction, and I've certainly heard the comments from my colleagues on the board, but what about existing neighborhoods? And many of those are older neighborhoods, established areas that have it either for water heaters, cooking, heating in some cases. I saw the breakdown, I guess it was on page 253 of the report, that I guess delineated some of the natural gas users in electric homes as well. But I guess part of my question is what happens if it becomes uneconomical from the provider, in this case obviously PG&E, because there's no new infrastructure going in. Obviously that comes with a cost, but it's installed per code and so forth. And so you have users who are already dependent on natural gas for different elements of their living quarters and their daily lives. And then the underwriting of the new versus the old, less customers in that respect, then what happens is so that we're going to force people in those areas to basically convert. It's one thing for new construction, but then you say there's no new infrastructure, so there's no blending occurring. So I guess Paul or Alberto, I guess I'm curious is, if the state's goal is to basically phase out, who's going to assume or subsume those costs for converting older dwelling into Director Harris's point? If you're going to go on demand, you've got older electrical panels in those homes. They may not even have the capacity in some cases with the wiring and such. I guess I'm just curious. Again, that's not, we're not going to solve all that today, but that's part of my question. And then I have a question about propane use in the rural areas. But let me get the first part of this question if I could.
Director Ayala.
So, I'm gonna go to Paul as well, but I'll say this. So you are correct. We are doing our part implementing what is already state law. And just to remind, the state has already adopted a 100% renewable energy target by 2045. So that is what every region across the state is trying to implement. You're absolutely right, Director Natoli. And that is the reason, in terms of the built environment, the existing homes, yours, ours, everybody else's, that is going to be the most difficult sector. That is why we're not touching it right now, because that's going to require different policies, different approaches, a lot of subsidies to be able to tackle the already built environment. What we are talking about here is new development, because as some of you alluded to, when you're starting from zero, from a scratch, it's going to be more economical, it's going to be more feasible. And the last thing I'll say about this is I completely understand your sentiments about natural gas, and you're going to hear this as one of the public comments. As we clean up other sources, meaning our cars, our industries and other things, burning natural gas problem. So you have to keep that in mind. And I think the state is balancing all these requirements, and hopefully we will have the economy that will support incentives for all of these programs, because they're already happening. And to the point about electricity load, that is the reason why it's so important to be working with the utilities, because the state already has adopted targets for renewable energy. The utilities are already planning for the increased load, not only from new buildings, but also from the transport sector. So again, I just want to put that in context. Paul, do you want to add anything?
I think you covered it. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Again, I'm concerned that we'll force, the market, probably artificially to some degree by, whatever utilities use to balance, plan for their utility load. Basically we're going to freeze that in time, and then have customers who are going to be, their homes are dependent upon that, at least for the here and now. And to your point, Alberto, that, subsidies and such, because I got to imagine if it's going to be a change out or conversion, it's going to be tremendously expensive. And it's going to hit some of the low income, some of the, neighborhoods with older homes, modest homes. It's not just a luxury to be able to cook on gas. In a lot of cases, the necessity was built into the house when it was built. The other question I just want to ask about real quickly, Chair, is so how does this affect in the outlying areas where you don't have natural gas? Obviously, there's no infrastructure to deliver, but people use propane. Is that now going to be prohibited from the standpoint of folks that are reliant on propane in the rural and outlying areas where you don't have a natural gas infrastructure?
This threshold does not affect propane use.
Okay, so folks can still plumb their homes, and again, these are onesie twosies in a lot of cases, but there are small townships and so forth where propane is still, I don't know how heavy of use. So, but this doesn't affect that in any way, Paul?
Yes.
Okay, is that on the docket though to phase propane? Obviously, another natural gas. Is that being phase that out too?
Not on this particular docket, no. But what we did when we put together the threshold is we were looking for a number to hit. We had to find out what the Sacramento County and its incorporated cities had to get the delta between what the state is going to do and what we're required to do to hit the goals. And looking at what SMUD was putting forward and the local districts were putting forward and the economics of what everything would cost, getting rid of piped natural gas was the most cost-effective way forward. There's not a lot of propane because you're right, it's rural areas, it's not a lot of people. We did not think that was a big enough sector to go after.
Okay, and just a related question, and then I'll stop. So, there's been a lot of gravitation in barbecues and backyard uses and so forth, and it's gone to canister propane and so forth, which is all regulated, but gone away from burning briquettes and such. is that part of the state's plan? Those basically eliminate backyard barbecuing. I don't know how you do that on electric very well, but I'm not a great barbecuer anyway. But
that's blasphemy, Don. That's blasphemy.
I'm not a great that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering what's going to happen. But anyway, okay, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but obviously that's in the category of natural gas. So, all right, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Natoli. I have Director Carr, and then I saw Director Ayala's come up again. Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. Well, first of all, I think the number one thing we can do is to reduce emissions from vehicles. I believe that's the number one thing to do. And it's, I understand the issues with the federal government, especially the current administration, but I think we have to get that down to zero as opposed to gas. But anyway, the question I have is, what is the importance of what we're doing? If we approve this, is this a mandate? Is this just following aligning the air district with state law? What is the significance of this action?
Paul, could you speak to the practicality and also why this option of all the options was the most cost effective?
Absolutely. What you're doing today is considering the adoption of a threshold for land use developments. So for you, for example, Delta Shores was going to be built. You had to look at air quality, aesthetics, traffic, sewer, water, all that as part of the environmental analysis. And you had to come up with a greenhouse gas threshold and show that that development would not exceed the thresholds, or if it did, have overriding considerations for approving the development of Delta Shores. When 2020 happened on the calendar, our thresholds basically turned into a pumpkin like Cinderella's carriage, because all of our information was based upon getting to the 2020 threshold. We now have a 2030 target that the state has. And the Supreme Court of California has ruled that a local jurisdiction has to either have a qualified climate action plan to show that they have a plan as a city or county to achieve that goal. And then every developer could be consistent with that plan and be approved at less than significant, or you have to come up with a threshold to show that the project will help achieve that 2030 target. The city of Sacramento has a qualified climate action plan, and it does include gas. You are able to work with your inventory and find the best way forward. As an air district, we don't have plenary land use authority. We can't require your sanitation department to use electric trucks. We can't require building to be done in transit-oriented development type things. We can't get VMT reductions. So when we were looking at a threshold for jurisdictions without a climate action plan, we had to assume that the local jurisdictions wouldn't do anything above and beyond state mandates. And so if a developer does not wish to use a climate action plan, they can only look at their development, what their development is doing, and show how this one project is consistent with the state plan and will ensure that we hit our 2030 targets. When we started looking at the inventory of Sacramento County, which is what our jurisdiction is, we looked at what the state said we were expected to do as far as how much natural gas are we going to burn, how much cars are we going to be driving, how much waste and water are we going to be generating. And looking through those numbers and figures, we were already over the amount of natural gas that we were going to be using. And we were a little bit over the vehicle miles traveled that we needed to be getting to. And talking with local jurisdiction staff members, when the county was and still is working on their climate action plan, they were looking at natural gas as a way to help them get there or removing it. We found that it was just the cheapest, easiest way to go for new construction, things requiring a CEQA document to get to consistency. However, when we came last year to this board, we said and promised you that we would provide flexibility for developers. We didn't want to have a one size fits all. So if a developer wants to use BMPs 1, 2, and 3, they can go forward without any analysis. However, if they do wish to use not BMPs 1, 2, and 3, they could figure out the delta, the difference, the emissions that will be happening because of their natural gas use, or because they're not putting in their EV infrastructure, or because they're in a high VMT neighborhood, and find other ways to reduce it. As a local jurisdiction, you have the ability to go after the existing infrastructure. You have the ability to go after your city and county operations. As a new developer, they don't have that luxury. And so we had to be a little bit more prescriptive, but there still is potential for other on-site and off-site mitigation. So that was sort of the genesis of putting this threshold together. And again, any jurisdiction with a climate action plan, we absolutely do want to have you as a local jurisdiction figure out what is best for you and your community. And this is only for jurisdictions that haven't yet gone through that process. We wanted to give developers something to hang their hat on if their project is sued, and something that you can hang your hat on that, yes, this project is consistent with the 2030 guidelines, either by using the best management practices or calculating the difference because they're not being followed, and then coming forward with the emission reductions.
Thank you, Paul. So I guess your point there is that, again, this is not a mandate, but it gives an option for developers.
Correct.
Director Carr, did that get to your question here as well?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, we do still have the budget item and closed session, board members. This has had a lot of conversation here. I'm going to ask our clerk to see if we have public comment that was submitted, if we could provide that for the board.
We do, Chair Guerra. We have 2 public comment testimonies.
Can you briefly describe those for the board, unless they're going to be posted on the screen?
I could do either. I could read you a brief description of that, or I can pull it up and include it in the public record.
If you could pull it up and include it in the public record, that would be helpful.
Okay.
That way everyone can see it. Oh, well, except for Dawn. So maybe let's actually briefly read them, because we do have some people on the phone.
Okay. The first is from Arlen Orchard, the CEO and General Manager of SMUD, urging the board to approve the GHG threshold update. He states that the thresholds are consistent with SMUD's integrated resource plan, and developers of all electric homes can benefit from SMUD incentives of up to $5,000 per single family home and up to $1,750 per multifamily home. In addition, all electric low-rise commercial and residential projects are cost-effective in our climate zone, and builders can benefit from reducing construction costs due to foregoing natural gas infrastructure. The second public comment is from Denise Grab, Leah Lewis Prescott, Bruce Niles, and Brady Seals of the Rocky Mount Institute, focusing on support of BMP1. In addition to greenhouse gas reduction, their letter stresses the indoor air quality benefits of eliminating natural gas. An estimated 12 million Californians are breathing levels of nitrogen dioxide above outdoor air quality standards in their homes due to gas stoves, and those impacted are disproportionately lower income. Additionally, buildings within the district release 3.3 tons of NOx per day from burning gas, more than all the light duty vehicle driving on our roads. BMP1 represents an important step toward meeting health attainment and carbon reduction goals. They also request the board consider steps to strengthen appliance emission standards in existing buildings. Those are the 2 public comments that I have for that item.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'll make my own comment here, and then I'll ask for an action from the members of the board here. Well, one, I do want to thank all the staff for their work on this. I do think that they were looking at what are the best options for someone who is going to be developing in a jurisdiction that does not have a current climate action plan in place. They choose to take that on. So one, I think this action it supports that effort. This action isn't creating a policy directive of whether or not we should go completely into all gas. That going. So I'm supportive of this, but I'd like to see if there's a motion here to move this forward or another action that the board wishes to do.
Chair, I'll make a motion.
Chair Guerra, I think
Yes.
you do need to take the step of opening a public hearing and closing the public hearing on this item before you entertain a motion.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to open and close the public hearing, and then I heard Director Hansen here.
Yes, I'll make a motion in support of the staff recommendation.
Okay, Director Hansen has moved to support the staff report. Is there a second to that?
I'll second, Chair.
It's been seconded by Director Board. I don't see any hands raised. I will go ahead and ask the clerk to call the roll. But before we do that, anyone on the phone, since I can't see any hands raised, want to comment on this before we take the roll call? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Director Carr,
Thank you for the discussion. Aye.
Director Daniels,
No.
Director Frost,
The discussion was very helpful. Thank you. Aye.
Director Gaylord,
No.
Director Guerra,
Aye.
Director Hansen,
Aye.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Lamson,
Aye.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Peters, Director Peters, are you still on the line? Director Cerna, Director Terry,
Aye.
Appreciate everyone's one.
The next item on the calendar
session to go after this as well.
Okay, good morning. This is Jamil Moons. I'm the Administrative Services Division Manager for the district. And it's my pleasure to bring to you the proposed budget 2021. And I'm waiting for the clerk. There we go.
Give me one second. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll be sharing with you this morning the FY 2021 proposed budget and fee schedule for discussion and feedback from the board. Next slide, please. Alberto did already discuss with you sort of the strategy coming in. So, and I'm also sensitive to time as the chair has mentioned. So I will go pretty quickly through the presentation to allow more sufficient time for discussion. But if I do skip over anything, please catch me, and I can always come back to that. Basically, I just want to share with you our general budget process, talk about the priorities and initiatives of the proposed budget, which is the pre-crisis budget. Some notable changes to that, which we, as Alberto mentioned, we also had taken a very conservative approach into the budget even before the crisis due to our budget challenges. In addition, we have developed two scenarios, a moderate and a severe scenario, and looked at some assumptions. So I will be touching on those. Finally, I'll be briefly mentioning the financial management policies, which is a new appendix to the budget document that we brought to the budget committee back in February and had some great feedback from them. And finally, the fee schedule to bring to you for consideration and discussion. Next slide, please. Very quickly, Alberto already mentioned our timing of this. We have 2 public hearings. We will be coming back in May with the second public hearing for the proposed budget. And we would anticipate coming back to you sometime in the fall. If it's the will of the board that we come back sooner, we obviously can, and we'll be monitoring ourselves the budget very, very closely every month. And then commit to coming back in January and amending the budget when we have much more information. Next slide, please. The budget process is an annual process. I won't go into the details, but I do want to mention that in February, March timeframe, we do always meet with our budget committee, as we did this year, and presented to them the initial budget. Again, qualifying that as a pre-crisis meeting with the committee. They were very, very helpful and gave us some good input, and we incorporated that into the budget. And again, we just go through the annual cycle, and we would propose back in October to, as we're starting to develop the next year's budget, to definitely react to any impacts we've had in this year's budget. Next slide, please. The budget that we have proposed is scaled back, as Alberto mentioned. It does, however, propose to provide funding necessary to carry out our critical mission and priorities for the district, in particular including the actions towards our attainment of the air quality standards, continuing to do permitting and enforcement of those stationary sources, and we also have an air monitoring station that's in pretty serious condition and needs to be replaced, among some of our other priorities. Next slide, please. The other direction. One more, Selena, please. Thank you. All right, we have 3 funds, and I am going to be focusing on this discussion primarily on the general fund, which contains all of our positions, all of our capital expenditures, all of our professional services contracts. The meat and potatoes, I would say, of our budget here in the general fund. That is what we're monitoring closely with use of reserves. The proprietary Cobell Building Fund, it is an internal service fund which tracks and monitors the administrative building. And the last is our special revenue funds, which is a very important fund. It tracks only the incentive grants that come through, and that's what those expenditures are presented there. Next slide, please. So I want to focus a little bit on the current year's budget, which is 1920, which is the one we're in right now, which the board approved last May, as compared to, the FY 2021 proposed. I think it's notable here that what the board approved for this year is 22.9 million, just under 23 million, and what we are proposing is a rollback of about $500,000 there. So we are proposing a budget of 22.4 million. And on the proprietary fund, it's a very neutral fund. It just incorporates rents and expenditures on the building improvements, and is fairly neutral from year to year. The special revenue fund, those numbers represent the expenditures that our transportation and climate team is looking at putting out on the street. So this year you would approve 35 million to go hit the street this year, which is exceptional and great. And next year they're looking at almost matching that at 32 million. Again, in terms of incentive expenditures. Next slide, please. A couple of points. It is a fairly neutral budget from year to year. As you see, we have proposed, again, focusing just on the general fund, a cutback, a carve back of $500,000. On the revenues, we are anticipating a slight increase if the CPI fee goes through at 3.3%. That was the index that was proposed, and I'll get that to a little bit later. We are anticipating a bit of a decrease in the sales and use tax. That was actually from the Transportation Authority. Sacramento Transportation Authority did provide those forecasts to us, and there was a slight decrease coming in. when I get to the recession scenarios, you will see a larger impact in sales tax measures. But for the proposed budget pre-crisis, there was already a slight decrease projected. And then very nominal changes in our DMV and state grants. On the expenditure side, that is where you are seeing the reductions. It is predominantly in employee services. As Alberto mentioned in his APCO report, we currently have 99.5 positions budgeted in the current budget. We are proposing to take that down to 94.1. Those were the number of positions we felt were critical to move forward and get done the core work and the critical work of the district. And that did realize significant savings. We do have a one-time expenditure in our services and supplies for our Cali Mod grant, $300,000. We're getting that in on the revenue side, and it's also on the expenditure side. But otherwise, you would have even seen a more significant reduction in our budget due to holding reducing our FTE. Next slide, please. What I think is really important, and I want to emphasize to the board as I go into our discussion about our recession scenario planning, is that we have demonstrated as a district to be very, very prudent, very conservative in our expenditures. This year, the board approved $22.9 million in expenditures. We had anticipated $20 million coming in revenues with a projected use of fund balance of $3 million. Instead of using that reserve, instead of spending the $3 million, we, based on our belt tightening, that I think I love that expression that Alberto uses, due to being very, very conservative in terms of our expenditures, in terms of our staffing, we have managed to not only spend $3 million in reserve, but put $2 million back into reserve, net difference of $5 million. And so that is, I think, very significant in terms of positioning us going into this crisis. And, you know, we were even unaware of the crisis as we were taking these actions, but it puts us in a very, very good position. Instead of being at $9 million in fund balance for the general fund, we're actually projecting to start out at $14 million coming into the next, into this upcoming budget cycle. Next slide, please. This is a line graph where it shows you the work of the district over the past couple years from when we really identified that we had that structural deficit. We've developed several revenue strategies, working very closely with the board, bringing different strategies to you for consideration. Meanwhile, we knew that we had to take action, and therefore we have been operating, you know, I would say at bare bones. And as a result of that, you can see that aqua blue line, second from the bottom, has increased over the past several years to a point now where we've had an all-time high in our fund balance and reserves, which again positions us very well going into this budget and into what we anticipate to be a pretty significant recession. As you see it tipping down, that is what we would have projected to use in this year's budget. We would have, our proposed budget does call for 1.7 million use of reserves, which was planned and anticipated, and including the reduction in FTE. Next slide, please. What I want to share with you now is what we have done. Again, Alberto said we don't know everything, but we do know some things, and we do have the ability to plan. And I think that's what's really important. We took the time to sit down and really comb through all of our revenues and say, which revenues could potentially be impacted and by how much, what's reasonable. We reached out to other air districts, we reached out to other organizations in our region, and got feedback from them, and looked at what we think would be the analysis and ran a moderate and severe scenario. The moderate scenario reflects the feedback that we've essentially received and what the other jurisdictions anticipate and think may happen. Then we went a step further and said, well, what if we're wrong? What if it's worse than any of us think? What could be the potential impact there? And so this is what we're sharing with you here is the high level view, and then I'll go very quickly through the details. But right now in the current year's budget, we have 99.5 FTE, and you can see the revenues and expenditures there with the projected use of fund balance. Under our proposed budget, We are asking that we would have a cap of 94, and as Alberto mentioned, we would operate under that, obviously, until we have a better understanding of what goes forward. In the moderate scenario, we would hold FTEs at 88.1, and under a severe scenario, we would release limited term staffing at 85.1. I'll get into some other details, but that would bring down our use of fund balance to $1 million less than we would have projected and keep us stable through the recession. It would imply very, very minimal use of fund balance, so we would keep our reserves up at around that 13 million mark through the recession. Next slide, please. I will not go into a lot of detail, but just to give you a sense of what we looked at under the moderate scenarios, we looked at a reduction in our Measure A, permit fees, interest income at about 10 to 20%. And it would also imply no CPI increase. So the 3.3% for fees would not go into effect within the within the fiscal year, excuse me. Under the severe scenario, we increased that in the different categories to 20 to 50%, depending on what made sense. We went back and looked at what happened to our permit fees during the recession of 2009 timeframe, 2008, 2009. We reached out, so again, incorporating a lot of that input. And then in the severe scenario, we would see, again, a reduction in D&B fees as well, and no CPI increase. On the expense side, as I mentioned, we would hold vacancies at the moderate. We would reduce our business travel by 50%, and we would reduce our contracts by 25%, as well as our collaborations. Under the severe scenario, we would hold vacancies. We would need to lay off limited term staff. We would not go forward with a cost of living adjustment, which has come in, the index has come in at 3.1. There would be no business travel, and we would cut our contracts by 50%. Those would be the actions necessary to hold us based on our revenue assumptions. Again, we don't know how it will play out, but based on the assumptions that we've programmed in, those would be the actions we would need to take. So again, this is a plan. These aren't, we want to be ready. So as we learn more, as the numbers start to come in and we monitor our revenue stream, we have a plan, we have an ability to react. And in the meantime, we're going to be very conservative and not feel, up to those positions that are being proposed in the budget. Next slide, please. We thought it was important, and there's a lot of detail here, and I'm sensitive to time. We thought it was important to also very much point out what are going to be the impacts. If we go down to these levels of staffing, what programs, what's going to be the impact on our operations and programs? So we've identified those here. I won't go into detail, but obviously it's going to be, a reduction in a lot of our actions and our activities, both in compliance inspections, responding to complaints, working with our incentive contracts, some of the inspections that need to be done. And under the severe scenario, those cuts are going to be more severe to the extent there's going to be some programs we will not be able to do at all. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of the impacts, operational impacts. And again, as you can see, in some cases, there's a reduction. In other cases, in the severe scenario, it may be not done at all. Next slide, please. Shifting gears, I have just 2 slides left, so thank you. I appreciate your patience. This one is, I did want to comment on it. I'm very pleased that staff is bringing this back to the board. We have, over the years, it's been a long time since we've updated our financial management policies as a policy. We've had some policies that migrated into the budget book, into the section of the budget book. We have others that were sort of standalone, and some best practices that we had not developed and brought to the board. We consolidated all those, brought those into best practices. Current had a consultant work with us to make sure they're contemporary and meaningful. We brought it to the budget committee in February. They provided some excellent feedback and input, and we've incorporated that. And we thought the best place to contain this policy is with our budget document and consolidated. So we have now incorporated as a new item in our budget book as an appendix. And so it's several pages at the back of your budget book containing refining our budgets, and you can see some of the key policy areas that we have incorporated into these policies. Next slide, please. The last item that I wanted to share with you is the proposed fee adjustment. Pre-crisis scenario, we would be coming forward and we would be, as a staff, saying, yes, we absolutely are proposing that we move forward with this at 3.3. Obviously, it keeps our fees at the right level, up with the cost of living, as well as helping to be full cost recovery, which is one of our strategies, one of our revenue strategies. This is only just the cost of living adjustment. It is not greater than that. However, given the new conditions, we wanted to bring this forward for discussion, for your feedback and input, so that in May we can come back with a proposed budget that reflects, your direction and input based on some of the new conditions. So with that, next slide, please. We are asking that the board open and close a public hearing on the budget and fee schedule, that the board provide us staff direction so that we can develop that final budget to bring back to you in May, and then please set the public hearing for the second hearing for May 28th. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamil. First, I want to thank all the staff for taking on a lot of thought into planning our budgets here. And for members of the board, I want to, I think, recognize their understanding on how it's a tricky target to nail here. And through a lot of discussion, I think coming back in October, after many of our jurisdictions have confirmed our second budget, will help us be at a better target to find that. The other piece, I think here, one, I appreciate, the staff's consideration about what to do about the CPI increase. And we have done a lot of work here to address the structural deficit that the board, that the district has, and it shows there. And I think to Jamil's point, the CPI is the right thing to do. One thing that I would probably suggest is maybe we approve the CPI, but add a one year start date, like give it a year before that goes into effect. So changing the effective date, because we don't want to fall, I think, in a scenario where we're not continuing to also change our structural challenges that we have here. With that, I think I'm going to, Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open and close the public hearing and then ask members of the board to for discussion or to take an action.
Hey, Eric, this is Donald. I just wanted to thank staff and Alberto for your leadership in taking what was looked like we were going to be dipping into reserve funds and actually turning that around. So great job. And if there is
great, is that a motion to move the staff recommendation?
Yeah. If there is no more discussion, I'd be happy to make a motion to move the staff recommendation.
Members on the phone, Dawn, Susan, any conversation?
I'm just so the motion would include what you suggested is to approve the CPI or at least give direction regarding that, but to defer the actual collection of that for a year. I wasn't clear about that, Eric.
Yeah, Dawn, if you wouldn't mind including that, I would suggest that we approve the CPI, but actually change the effective date for 1 year.
And
go ahead.
And Chair Guerrera, just to be clear, this item is just to provide input. In May will be the resolution, and based on your feedback, what I will do is when we bring back the budget resolution for formal adoption, I will incorporate that direction if that's the will of the board.
So then you don't need a motion today where there's no action?
That's correct. I can bring back the budget. This is just input at the board level. So the action from the board today is to set the public hearing for May 28th.
But there is no action item, so we don't need a motion.
No, there is.
You do need a motion. So Don, if your motion is to set the public hearing for May with the direction to come back with some of these points.
With a delayed CPI. Okay, so I will amend my motion to incorporate having a hearing next month and delaying the CPI increase for 12 months.
And Sarah will second that.
It's been seconded by Board Member Harris. I see Board Member Hanson and Board Member Frost up. So I'll go with Board Member Hanson, then I'll go to Board Member Frost.
Thank We've been through a lot of different scenario planning along to put this together, these options. Very helpful to see that they've thought through all these various aspects, and it gives me a comfort that we're here in a month to potentially approve. We've already contemplated these different scenarios and we have a plan in place. I think that will help the business that we interface as customers and the communities whose health we work to protect to know that we have a plan for continuity and we have a plan to adapt. And I really just want to give Jamil in particular and Alberto some kudos for their hard work on this, because this is a whole new scary scenario. I think our cities in the county are going to be going through very similar exercises, and just so happens we're here early. So thank you, and I'm in support.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree with that comment. And I see that Director Daniels, Chief of Staff, joined us for a little bit there. Director Frost.
I just wanted to thank Alberto and Jamil and everyone for, even though the board gave some latitude, we knew over the last year or two that we were coming into hard times, and you guys went out of your way to you didn't use all the latitude that you had, and you conserved, and you give us a reason to really feel proud and have confidence in the way you manage the money at the Air Quality District, even though you're kind of challenged with an unfunded mandate. And so I just wanted to thank you for making it so easy for us to see what you're doing, and for all the good work that you're doing with our the management of the air quality's money.
I concur. With that, since there are no other board members who have signed up to speak, I will go ahead and ask the clerk to call the roll on this item.
Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Director Gaylord?
Aye.
Director Guerra?
Aye.
Director Hanson?
Aye.
Director Harris?
Aye.
Director Kennedy?
Aye.
Director Lamson?
Aye.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Natoli?
Aye.
Director Peters? Director Cerna? Director Terry?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries here. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public who have signed up to speak for public comment?
No, we do not.
Board members, are there any board ideas, comments, or AB 1234 reports? Director Daniels.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to be able to participate in the closed session due to another conflict. And I just want to say, though, for the record, that the chair needs a haircut.
Yes.
And if you can find a place, let me know.
I got the COVID fro going here, man. It's
maybe Director Carr could help us out with that.
Your head or order a Floby on Amazon.
Yeah, it's bringing me back to my 80s days. Thank you very much. Only a comment I have here before we go on to closed session is I appreciate everybody's patience on this. I appreciate all the staff on this. And also, I mean, the fact that our air quality, I concur with Board Member Harris again on this. It's this work is critical, and we're continuing to do it even in our own living rooms here. As a matter of just for folks on your calendar, you should have received the closed session information. We're going to log off and then log all back on again onto Zoom into the closed session information we received to be able to conduct our last item here. No one has to come back onto this. We will conclude with the clerk after this is done with closed session.
Mr. Chair, I enjoyed the Eric Guerra Air Quality podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say that your guitars are all electric, so no emissions there.
That is true. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who's been watching, and we'll see you all at closed session. All the best.
Okay, we're reconvening the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality District. Just exited out of closed session. Madam Clerk, do we have anything to report out of closed session here, or are we adjourning for the meeting now?
We just need a quick report out.
And the board met to discuss the APICO reports contract, and further item will be posted on the upcoming agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. We're adjourned at 11:09 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Thank you, Chair.